So the PS Vita is actually a better PSP, and that alone gives me enough reason to recommend a Vita if you can get a hold of one in 2025. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. The biggest flaw with the PSP was the lack of a second joystick. All we really had was this little nub here, and it took a lot of creativity to make games feel fun and natural on the PSP. And that meant that a lot of shooters like Resistance Retribution here just did not feel good on the PSP. So before we get into the controls, just look at the difference in the color palette and the vibrancy. The Vita's on top here, the PSP's on the bottom. It's a huge difference. That screen on the Vita really lends itself to some of these PSP games. Alright, now let's take a look at the PSP. So the problem with games like this is there's no second joystick, like I said, so the camera movements are mapped to the square, triangle, circle, X button. Even when compensated for with auto aim, it feels awkward at best. Now here's an amazing quality of life feature we have on the PS Vita that makes PSP games like this so much more fun to play. So if we hold down the PlayStation icon there, we'll go into the Adrenaline menu. From there we can go into the settings, we can go into open the official settings, and then we can map the right stick to do different things. In this case, I'm going to map it to handle the square, triangle, circle, X buttons. Now when I'm playing this game, everything feels much more natural. I took it a step further, and in the game's option menu itself, we can actually turn off the aim assist, the auto recenter, and we can make it so that the camera moves faster when we're moving the stick around. That makes it feel like a more traditional shooter. So with a much improved control scheme and a much more vivid picture on the screen, I dare say that the PS Vita makes a better PSP than the PSP itself. Now there's one big trade-off when using a Vita, and that's the sacrifice of the UMD drive. So if you want to utilize physical games, you still have to break out the old PSP for that. But if you're okay with a digital-only game, I have to recommend the PS Vita over the PSP.